Before you think love is about beauty, status, money, or the perfect words, stop for a second and listen closely. Most people spend years trying to be more impressive, more attractive, more wanted, and still wonder why real connection keeps slipping through their hands. Here's the truth. People do not stay because of the mask. They stay because of the feeling. They stay because something in your presence lets them breathe. And they fall deeply, quietly, sometimes without even understanding why, for only two real reasons. Not because of your face, not because of your success, not because of what you show the world. They fall for the energy you carry, and they fall for who they become when they are with you. That is where love starts. That is where it grows. And if you truly understand this, it will change the way you look at attraction, relationships, and even yourself. So stay with me, because what comes next may shift everything you thought you knew about love. When most people talk about love, they talk about actions, appearance, timing, chemistry, and charm. They think love begins with what is visible: a smile, a voice, a body, a certain style, a clever sentence at the right moment. But what truly pulls people closer is often much quieter than that. Long before your words are heard, your inner state is already speaking. Your body speaks, your breath speaks, the way your eyes move speaks, the tension in your face speaks, the speed of your voice speaks, even silence speaks. A person can look perfect on the outside and still feel heavy to be around. Another person may be simple, calm, almost ordinary by common standards, and yet people feel drawn to them in a way that is hard to explain. Why? Because the nervous system feels what the eyes cannot fully understand. People are always reading signals beneath the surface. They're asking without words, can I relax here? Can I trust this space? Can I put down my armor for a moment? Or do I need to stay guarded? This happens fast. Faster than logic. Faster than language, faster than intention. And that is why energy introduces you before your personality does. Most people miss this. They keep improving the outside while the inside stays restless, and then they wonder why connection never becomes deep. If your energy is anxious, needy, rushed, or unstable, people feel it even if they cannot explain it. They may say you are nice, they may say you are attractive, they may even enjoy talking to you for a while, but something inside them stays alert. Something does not settle. On the other hand, if your energy is calm, grounded, and steady, something opens. People soften around you. They breathe deeper around you. They become more honest around you. This is not magic. This is human wiring. The brain is always looking for safety. Not only physical safety, but emotional safety too. It scans tone, posture, eye contact, rhythm, tension, stillness. It notices the jaw, the shoulders, the breath, the pace of movement. All of that creates an emotional climate, and love grows or dies inside that climate. Think about a person who walks into a room and makes everyone feel pressured without saying anything harsh. Then think about someone else who enters quietly and somehow the whole space feels lighter. Same room, different energy. That difference matters more than most people realize. People do not only fall for what they see, they fall for what they sense. And what they sense most deeply is whether your presence feels like peace or pressure. Listen carefully. This alone changes relationships more than any clever line ever will. There are people who feel invisible, even though they try hard to do everything right. They dress well, they speak kindly, they stay humble, they try not to ask for much. Still, they feel overlooked. Often the reason is not that they have nothing to offer. It is that their inner tension arrives before their warmth does. Their effort can be felt before their essence can be felt. A tight chest, a guarded face, a nervous smile, a hidden fear of not being enough. Others pick up that signal first, not because they are cruel, but because human beings respond to emotional atmosphere before they respond to image. When that inner tension begins to soften, everything changes. A slower breath changes the voice. A calmer mind changes the eyes. A more settled body changes the way someone stands, listens, pauses, and responds. Suddenly, the same person feels different, not because they became someone new, but because they stopped fighting themselves. And peace is magnetic. That is why people are often drawn to someone they cannot fully explain. It is not always excitement. It is not always passion. Sometimes it is relief. Sometimes it is the deep feeling of finally being near someone who is not pulling, proving, chasing, or performing. Stay with this part because it matters. What is beautiful does not always calm the heart, but what calms the heart often becomes deeply beautiful. From a psychological view, we are naturally pulled toward those who help regulate our emotional state. We move closer to people who settle our chaos, not people who intensify it. A person may think they are attracting love with excitement, mystery, and constant stimulation, but what builds lasting connection is often something much quieter. It is steadiness. It is softness without weakness. It is warmth without control. It is the feeling that nothing dangerous is hiding behind the smile. If your normal state is panic, emotional drama, or unhealed fear, that becomes the emotional frequency you offer others. Even if you mean well, people start feeling tired around you. But if you build inner balance, self-respect, and presence, that becomes your real beauty, the kind that does not fade with age. The kind that does not need applause to exist. In many traditions, people speak of life force, spirit, or the unseen field each person carries. Call it what you want. The body feels it. And when that energy is steady, people trust it. In times of crisis, everyone turns toward the one who stays calm. In love, the same truth applies. The heart leans toward steadiness more than it leans toward noise. A garden does not bloom because someone pulls at the flowers. It blooms because the conditions are right. Love works the same way. It grows where the emotional soil feels safe, open, and alive. Now we move to the second reason, and this one goes even deeper. People do not only fall in love with your energy. They also fall in love with how they feel about themselves when they are with you. This changes everything. Because love is not just admiration, it is reflection. If someone feels more calm, more alive, more respected, more beautiful, more understood, more real in your presence, they begin to connect those feelings to you. They feel expanded near you, less hidden, less ashamed, less alone. And the heart remembers that. If a person feels judged, compared, rushed, or emotionally small around you, attraction can exist for a while, but love struggles to stay. But if they feel seen without having to perform, if they feel safe without having to impress, if they feel accepted without losing themselves, something powerful begins. This is why presence matters more than performance. Presence lets another person unfold. Presence tells them, you do not have to fight for room here. You do not have to wear armor here. You do not have to become someone else to be received here. That kind of space is rare. And because it is rare, it is unforgettable. Most people are trying so hard to be liked that they never notice they are making others feel tense. Real connection starts when your presence gives someone permission to return to themselves. That is one of the deepest forms of attraction there is. There are many people who think they give everything in relationships. They buy gifts. They send long messages. They plan dates. They compliment constantly. They do all the visible things and still wonder why love does not last. Often the missing piece is simple but hard. They do not know how to be still with another person. They do not know how to sit in silence without trying to entertain, impress, fix, or control the moment. Silence makes them nervous because silence brings them face to face with themselves. And if you cannot sit with yourself in peace, it becomes hard to offer peace to anyone else. This is where inner work begins. not with romance, with stillness, with being alone without distraction. No phone, no noise, no performance. At first it feels uncomfortable, then strange, then honest, then healing. Slowly, stillness becomes familiar, then it becomes a strength. And from that strength comes a new kind of love, one where another person can say, I do not know why, but I feel calm around you. I feel like I can finally stop pretending. That is not small. That is not ordinary. That is the beginning of real intimacy, because the relationship you build with others is always shaped by the relationship you have with yourself. If you are cruel with your own pain, you will become impatient with theirs. If you reject your own vulnerability, you will struggle to welcome theirs. But if you meet yourself with honesty and kindness, your presence becomes a place where other people can rest. So the two true reasons are inward, not outward. First, people fall for the way your energy touches theirs. Second, they fall for how they feel about themselves when they are with you. These are the roots of lasting connection, not desperate attraction, not fantasy, not possession, real connection. And the beautiful part is this: you do not need to become perfect for this to happen. You do not need to become louder, smoother, richer, or more impressive. You need to become more present, more honest, more settled inside your own skin. The better question is not, how do I make someone love me? The better question is, how do I become so clear, so peaceful, so real, that being around me helps another person feel safe enough to be real too? That is the shift. And once you see it, you stop chasing attention and start building presence. You stop shaping yourself to fit every eye and start returning to what is solid inside you. This path is not a trick. It is not manipulation. It is not strategy. It is a way of being. And it begins in very quiet places, in a single breath, in the pause before reacting, in the choice to remain steady when fear wants to take over. That quiet discipline becomes visible over time. People feel it, they trust it. And without trying to force love, you become more capable of giving and receiving it in a real way. Emotional availability is often misunderstood. Many people think it means talking all the time, explaining every feeling, sending constant reassurance, or turning every moment into a deep conversation. But true emotional availability is not loud. It is not about endless expression. It is about being fully present with emotion, your own and someone else's, without being ruled by it. Anyone can speak about feelings, but can you stay open when emotion rises? Can you remain calm when another person is upset? Can you listen without turning defensive, cold, sarcastic, or distant? That is where maturity begins. Emotions move through us like weather. They are real, but they are not the whole sky. The problem starts when we become completely identified with every passing storm. Then every moment feels urgent. Every trigger feels final. Every silence feels like rejection. Every disagreement feels like danger. And in that state, love becomes hard to protect. Self-mastery is the art of creating space between feeling and reaction. It is the power to notice the wave without becoming the wave. It is choosing presence over projection. Sometimes that space is only one breath long. But that one breath can save a conversation, soften a conflict, and protect a bond that would otherwise break under pressure. This is where many relationships either deepen or slowly collapse. Not in the big moments, but in the tiny pauses people fail to make. When discomfort rises, many people either run from it or explode inside it. They shut down, they attack, they withdraw, they vanish emotionally even while standing in front of you. But emotional availability asks for something harder and more beautiful. It asks you to stay, not to force a solution, not to win, not to perform wisdom, just to stay present, to sit with the heat without feeding it, to breathe without escaping, to remain kind without becoming weak. This kind of strength is trained, not gifted. You practice it by learning to stay with your own sadness instead of numbing it, your own anger instead of throwing it, your own fear instead of making someone else carry it. Because if you flee your own discomfort, you will flee another person's pain too. If you are ashamed of your softness, you will feel threatened by theirs. If you have never learned to witness your inner world, then another person's emotion will feel like an invasion instead of an invitation to connect. Real availability is revealed when things get difficult. Anyone can be sweet when everything feels easy. But who are you when disappointment enters the room? Who are you when silence grows? Who are you when someone you love is hurting and you cannot quickly fix it? That is the real test, and that is why love is not built on attention alone. Fast replies, affection, compliments, and sweet words can be lovely, but they are not the same as emotional presence. Presence stays when things get heavy. The body matters here more than most people think. Your breath matters, your posture matters, your voice matters. When your breath is shallow, your mind becomes narrow. When your shoulders are tight, your words become sharp. When your body is tense, even kindness sounds strained. That is why calm is not only mental, it is physical. Train the body, and you help train the heart. Sit quietly each day, even for a little while. Notice the breath without judging it. Let it slow. When tension comes, do not fight it immediately. Notice it. Name it softly. Stay with it. This is not only meditation. This is relationship training. Because the stillness you build alone becomes the stillness you bring into love. Then watch the mind. See the stories it creates during conflict. They never stop coming. They do not care about truth. They care about protection. They say, I am not valued. They do not care. I always get hurt. They always pull away. If you believe every story the moment it appears, conflict becomes a battlefield. But if you pause and ask, what is this moment showing me about my own fear, something changes. The moment stops being only about blame and becomes a mirror. That shift is powerful. It turns relationships into places of growth instead of endless repetition. And that is how emotional maturity slowly becomes part of your nature. Compassion matters too, but not the weak kind that excuses everything. Real compassion sees the wound beneath the behavior. It understands that many sharp words, cold silences, jealous reactions, and emotional walls were built long before this relationship began. People carry childhood pain, fear of abandonment, shame, trauma, and old survival patterns into present love. This does not make harmful behavior acceptable, but it makes it understandable. And understanding lowers needless reactivity. When you realize that a person is not only difficult, but deeply defended, you begin to respond with more clarity and less fire. Sometimes the most healing thing you can do is not solve, lecture, or argue. Sometimes it is to sit beside someone's pain without trying to drag them out of it, to listen, to stay, to let the moment breathe. There is deep wisdom in simple presence. The person who can remain steady during another person's storm becomes deeply trusted, not because they are perfect, but because they are safe. And safety is what lets love open fully. We live in a world that rewards speed, noise, fast answers, quick reactions, and endless stimulation. But love grows in a different rhythm. It grows in attention, in patience, in grounded silence, in the pause between impulse and response. That pause may not look impressive from the outside, but inside relationships, it changes everything. The one who learns to hold that pause becomes more than attractive. They become truly loving. Your energy is your offering. It enters the room before your words do and stays after you leave. That energy is shaped by your thoughts, your wounds, your level of self-awareness, your pace, your breath, your habits, and how honestly you deal with what you carry. If you are full of unresolved fear, resentment, control, or emotional chaos, people feel burdened by your presence, even if your intentions are good. If you are grounded, aware, and open, people feel nourished by your presence, even if you say very little. This is why one person can love deeply and still be hard to love in return. Love by itself is not always enough when it is mixed with instability. A person may care for you and still feel exhausted by your energy. They may want to stay and still need to leave because being with you feels like carrying two nervous systems instead of one. That is a hard truth, but an important one. Emotional stability is not only personal growth. It is relational responsibility. Every moment you spend returning to center becomes a gift to the people close to you. The calmer your inner world becomes, the less others must manage your storms. And when people no longer have to defend themselves against your fear, they can finally receive your love more fully. This is why inner work is not selfish. It is one of the most generous things you can do for a relationship. And yes, people can feel the difference. Immediately, deeply, quietly. If you want to become more magnetic in a real way, not in a fake way, begin by looking at the beliefs you carry about love. Many people secretly live by painful ideas. They never question, I am too much. I am not enough. People always leave. Love never stays. I must earn care. I must stay useful to be wanted. These beliefs shape energy. They create defensiveness, neediness, distance, people-pleasing, or control. They become the invisible script behind your relationships. The first step is to notice them. The second is to question where they came from. The third is to replace them with simple, grounded truth, not empty slogans. Real truth. I am learning to be safe with myself. I can breathe before I react. I do not have to beg for what is real. I can become the kind of presence I hope to receive. Speak to yourself this way long enough and your energy begins to change. The shift may be invisible at first, but others will feel it. Your tone softens. Your pace settles. Your need to prove starts fading. Even your voice carries a different weight. And your voice matters. The way you speak transmits your inner state. Urgency creates pressure. Bitterness creates distance. Calm sincerity opens hearts. Before difficult conversations, breathe deeply. Slow down. Arrive in your body. Clear the residue of the day. Do not carry old arguments, work stress, and private fear into every new moment. Clean energy changes conversations before words even begin. Relationships also need renewal. Early attraction often feels effortless because everything is new. The brain loves novelty. In the beginning, every detail feels special. Every look feels charged. Every small difference feels fascinating. But over time, familiarity replaces intensity. This is natural. It does not mean love is gone. It means love is changing form. And if people do not grow, listen, and stay curious, connection starts to fade under the weight of routine. People do not stay in love only with who you were at the start. They fall in love again and again with who you continue becoming. That is why growth matters. Emotional growth, mental growth, spiritual growth. The quiet growth no one claps for. To love deeply is not to freeze someone in the version you first met. It is to keep meeting the new version with interest, to ask fresh questions, to listen again, to notice new fears, new dreams, new tenderness, new strength. When curiosity dies, assumptions take over. And assumptions quietly drain intimacy. Many relationships do not break in one dramatic moment. They thin out slowly because people stop seeing each other. They stop asking, they stop noticing. They stop caring about the inner world of the person beside them. Real love stays curious. It says, show me who you are now. Tell me what changed. Tell me what hurts. Tell me what excites you. Let me meet you here too. That kind of attention keeps love alive far longer than romance alone. And this is the final truth. Love is not sustained by drama, perfection, or endless excitement. It is sustained by presence, by inner peace, by emotional steadiness, by the courage to stay open without becoming controlling, to stay soft without becoming weak, and to stay honest without becoming harsh. The person who becomes deeply lovable is not always the loudest, the flashiest, or the most impressive. It is often the one who has learned to carry clean energy, the one whose presence says, you are safe here, you do not have to perform here, you can breathe here, you can tell the truth here, you can be human here. And if you want this kind of love, do not begin by asking how to make others choose you. Begin by asking how to become a calmer home inside yourself. Return to your breath. Return to stillness. Return to awareness again and again. Some days you will fail. Some days your patience will be thin and your heart will feel scattered. But even then, you can return. That is the path, not perfection. Return. Every time you choose presence over panic, honesty over performance, and peace over pressure, you become more capable of real love. And in time, without forcing, chasing, or pretending, you will notice something powerful. You are no longer only looking for love. You are becoming the kind of presence that naturally gives it, receives it, and lets it grow.